What up? This is Sean Lone with New Old Heads Podcast. This is episode 453 of the show with guests DJ MetroGnome and Brotha2daknight. This week we had a very long conversation on Charlie Kirk, hip-hop, responsibilities to care, and everything kind of related to that, with that being kind of the biggest news piece right now. We also discussed a couple things from Dame Dash. One, his comments and conversations about Cameron and the transition from music to media, but also his conversation back and forth with Charlemagne the God. We also did some music reactions. We talked about being in Chicago for the Little Brother final curtain call. Make sure you tap into episode 453, patreon.com/newoldheads. Like, subscribe, hit the notification, do all those things. See you in the comments.
You're listening to the New Old Heads Podcast, released every Thursday at noon via bringingdowntheband.com. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Indie CD and Vinyl. Support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads.
Welcome to the New Old Heads Podcast, episode 453. I am Sean Lonegevity with the New Old Heads, and we have Jay Moore.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, man?
Oh, not too much, just
being a rap fan.
Yeah, just being a rap fan. Shout out to my man Trackstar DJ.
Yeah. Right next to him, we have returning special guest DJ MetroGnome. What's going on?
Hello. I'm back.
You're back. To the bottom side of your screen, on the right-hand side of the, what is the squares or whatever?
Yeah.
The
Hollywood circle gets a square.
Hollywood squares, yeah. We have DJ Jay Diff. What's up, Terry?
Salutations. How you doing?
I'm doing
good.
And to your left, we also have the returning, one and only, 9-time champion, Brotha2daknight.
Salut, Kalalu.
Mama Samu Marcos.
Right on. May 7th is out today for, we don't know why. He's just not here.
Yeah.
So,
called into work today.
Called off work.
He's trying to recover from the Little Brother concert.
Was y'all drinking like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Especially not Mike.
He's just soft.
Yeah. He's going to be mad that it ain't live because he can't jump in and have his little 5 minutes of conversation.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you got time to jump in the conversation. You ain't got time to get on the microphone. No, we're just messing with you.
Yeah,
man.
All right, well, Charlie Kirk's passing has ignited a complex conversation around death and respect. We've all seen that in the last week. Today, we're going to explore the inherent tension between Charlie Kirk's conservatism and racism and hip-hop culture's historically progressive, voice, if you will. So in the last week, as I said, we've seen people want to give him grace and people who just don't care at all.
Mm-hmm.
And with Charlie Kirk's critique of hip hop in the past and more specifically black people and black culture, this reveals a larger narrative about race, class, and the American dream. So I'm going to play a short little clip from a long YouTube video that I made. And then we're going to go from there and ask some questions and shit. He stood for a vision of America that was fundamentally at odds with the reality that hip-hop has been documenting since the 1980s for over 50 years. His was a prescriptive video of what America should be, while hip-hop is a view into what America actually is for many marginalized groups. And he stood in direct opposition of that. Consider the power of culture in the political landscape. What does it mean when the leaders of this nation don't just despise the music or a genre of music, but despise the people and the reality that it represents? I'll leave you with that. So with that, I pose a question, kind of like what I had there. So with hip hop's history of social activism, and even more than that, what responsibility, if any, do artists and culture commentators have to engage in respectful dialogue with opposing perspectives, such as someone like Charlie Kirk?
I think there is a responsibility just so there is a level of pushback. A lot of times, what a lot of people didn't realize when Charlie Kirk had these public forums, these were fixed fights.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think people realize that. And if you don't, you can really go back, do whatever research you want to do. I'm at this point.
Hey Jay,
Yeah.
prove to me that he's a racist. Can you prove it to me?
Prove me wrong.
Look, he put his own receipts online.
Yeah,
You know, and people say, "Oh, well, what about this?" I'm like, I posted a quote, like I know I bring up Baldwin, and that's just the times we're living in. You know, we can have a debate about whether or not, you know, grape jelly is better than strawberry jelly. We can have a debate on, you know, how this economic policy, but we cannot have a debate on my humanity.
Sure.
You know, like I said, that's not an exact quote, but that's the gist of what Baldwin said. And I think a lot of times, yes, we were with
Not Alec.
no. I hope people pick up on that, but at the same time, I'm hoping people can kind of differentiate that sort of thing when we're having these kinds of dialogue. And look, you're trying. I've seen a lot of white people trying to convince me that this wasn't racism, and it's like, don't tell me this isn't racism when, you know, I've been black for 48 years, and I'm pretty sure I have a good grasp on what racism is so far in this country. And the thing is, if it wasn't racism, you wouldn't be so invested in it. You know, every once in a while, you know, sometimes things like this happen, and you've realized how this country really feels about you, or, you know, in general, what the temperature is. You know, when I see them doing a tribute to Charlie Kirk before a Yankees game, where he was not a soldier, he wasn't a police officer, he wasn't a fireman, he wasn't a politician, he wasn't even a Yankees fan. And there's been this outpouring like he was this public figure who didn't, you know, this is somebody that's sown the seeds of hatred, but somehow he's honored before sporting events. And this is the week of 9/11, you know, and so like that's in its own way disturbing, and it shows the priorities that a certain segment of America has. And if you don't think it's racism, then how is it that a white person can shoot a white person in Utah, which is demographically, you know, very much a white state, and somehow HBCUs have to go on lockdown because of threats? I just think there is always room for discourse. You know, we have it on this show, you know, and it's in a healthy way. We turn these cameras off and we still all hang out and it's all good. But I don't think that's not what Charlie Kirk was doing. I feel for his children, but we, you know, because that's children that they don't have, we can't bring them into it. That's foul. You know, when you say you don't feel sorry for his children, but the way he died should not influence how we feel about the things he said when he was alive. And I'll get off that. I probably got off of, I've been quiet about this whole thing pretty much up until I knew we were going to have to talk about it, you know, so I might just be rambling here, but
No, I don't think so.
you know, I think there is,
No, I'm just
no, but this is so layered, and this is about, like, so much of this is about the history of America and how we really feel about guns, how we really feel about race, how we really feel about, you know, the intersectionality of white supremacy and race, and honestly, how we feel about, you know, all of a sudden, like, people were disappointed that it wasn't a transgender shooter.
Yeah, they're still trying to
You know.
somehow make it a transgender situation.
You know,
The thing of the matter is, though, can't put lipstick on shit is still shit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just because you dress it up and try to make it look better, at the end of the day, you can't tell somebody how to feel about a certain individual, a certain person. And one of the things that America needs to do is learn how to take accountability, and also how to not contradict your truths and beliefs based on basically situationally. And reason why I bring that up is, like, I wasn't overly invested in the whole Black Lives Matter movement, but I agreed with a lot of things as far as why it needed to be done. Not the organization itself, but
the sentiment
of it. And it was hijacked by something called the Blue Lives Matter movement. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that was your answer to and I'm not even going to say in the individual. It wasn't about the individual that was murdered. It was about the systematic racism that's been going on for years. And mind you, this is during COVID, so emotions are running wild anyway. You're stuck in the house.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You're seeing this shit happen live on TV, or not necessarily live, but you've seen the clip. Everybody knows what happened. And it was an accumulation of all of that. It wasn't that one particular incident. And they use his image. What's his name? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
George
Floyd. They use George Floyd's image to propel that movement. And a lot of people were quick to demonize his character. Now, he might have been a Christian as well.
Charlie Kirk demonized his character.
Yeah, he absolutely
Specifically.
demonized his character. But all of the people that are siding with Charlie Kirk definitely demonized his
Right.
character.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool then to demonize somebody that was, you know what I'm saying, killed by the law, and making up all of this stuff. Well, he was in trouble, this, that, and the other. That shouldn't have mattered.
There's still people trying to run with the lie that he died of a drug overdose.
Exactly. So with this whole Charlie Kirk situation, they didn't feel sorry for George Floyd
Or his kids.
Or his kids. Now the narrative is, well, Charlie Kirk was a Christian, he was a parent, he was this, he was that. George Floyd was all of that as well. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing about it is you have to be a certain type of Christian for people to pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, is a white Christian that identifies with Republican points of view, essentially, right?
Wasp.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So me not feeling, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, I agree with the whole sentiment of, I feel for his kids, and
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? They still have to grow up without a father, essentially. But
White supremacist.
well, they have a chance to correct that. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's exactly what this whole situation is about, is narrative. You said two words that really kind of resonate with me in regarding this situation. There's two key points. Narrative. One, they're trying to change it.
Yep.
And this even goes deeper into the Trump administration. They're going through, obviously they're going through all of these the Smithsonian. They're starting to take out negative images
Right.
of slaves with lashings, and they're starting to do all of this stuff because they want to just kind of like clean up the whole image. But you also
sanitize.
they're sanitizing it, but they're also, you mentioned accountability, and that's the number one thing that America has never done and shows no interest in doing at all.
Mhm.
And I think that that's really what this comes back to. Even when you watch those clips of Charlie Kirk critiquing hip hop, he's not dialed in, obviously, to anything going on with black people at large, specifically with hip hop culture. But he's going to try to reframe everything, and everything that they're trying to do is, reframe the narrative to just cater to their very pathetic arguments. You know what I mean? They're trying to paint this picture, and this picture obviously is whatever stupid debate he was having that day. It's I don't know. It's really frustrating to watch it. And also, for me, the most frustrating thing is that for someone to say, you mentioned, somebody over here mentioned, like, maybe not being totally invested or like caring that much about this. Like, people are falsely accusing people of, hatred or the dude from MSNBC got fired because he just reported this information, while the Fox commentators like, homeless people should be
Killed. Yeah.
There's like total mania going on. I mean, I don't know. We're living through a very, very strange time. I do think that there are healthy ways to have these conversations, but I don't think personally the right is interested in having those conversations.
Well, no, because you got to think about it. And this, like I said, goes back to, I've heard all these conversations like, oh, is this the death of free speech? I was like, I'm sorry, you're going to start here with the death of free speech?
Come on, man.
This was the violent death of one individual, but free speech has been under attack for quite a while. And, you can point, no one wants to point to the fact that the Washington Post, was going to endorse Kamala Harris, but because Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post and he is a large Republican donor, and, because that, for whatever you think economically, that makes sense for him because he's going to get a large tax cut. that's where you see free speech being attacked. Is there's no editorial freedom anymore because these large corporations, these entities that are controlled by just a few people, you know, there are things, if you go against their ideals, if you will, their morals, then you're going to get shut down. You know, so I don't know. I think it was Jay Leno. I was like, this is why we don't listen to celebrities a lot of times, or we listen to them way too much, or why do we just automatically point microphones into these people's faces when, you know, they don't know what they're talking about or cannot give you what I like to call a follow-up answer if you ask them a follow-up question. You know, so I just think we've taken so much and put it into this one situation where it's a much broader conversation that we need to have about free speech, about what it is for us to still maintain the Second Amendment in this country, how we feel really about each other as neighbors.
And what racism really
and
is.
What,
man.
that's honestly where we're thinking. I think there are people who think, well, Charlie Kirk, this is the example I always use. He didn't burn any crosses. You never heard him say the N-word. So how racist could he really be? And you got to understand, those people who do those sort of things, those are the least dangerous racists, is the people that believe in the structure of racism and the ideals of racism by saying things like, if I see a black pilot, I hope he's qualified.
Mm-hmm.
By you, Charlie Kirk, being a junior college dropout and having criticism for Ketanji Brown when it was time for her to be confirmed to the Supreme Court. Now, mind you, this is a woman who graduated from Harvard with honors, but you as a white person who dropped out of junior college, you feel like you can say something to someone who graduated from Harvard with honors, and it's validated by the other white people around you who probably aren't as accomplished as that. And so that's what racism is on a structural level, not really a structural level, but a social level that is dangerous and that is hurtful.
It's also to the point where, too, a lot of people didn't know who Charlie Kirk was until that happened, that being black and white. And people just decided to be like, well, I went and looked at a few of his videos and I might not agree with all he said, but you have to add that but in, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't make it less racist or make him not racist just because you don't agree with those things. I cannot necessarily have an emotion about what happened to him personally and view it as, yeah, somebody shouldn't have got murdered. But in the same token, I can still be like, well, I mean, he kind of preached about these things. He said that through Second Amendment rights that people were supposed to get murdered. He pretty much said that was a good thing.
That's the price of us having
the Second Amendment right. You know what I'm saying? So he died for his cause. Good for him. I don't feel a certain type of way about it emotionally. Again, I only care about the kids, essentially. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, the whole organization, his structure, and how he only debated with kids that just got to college. There was one video I seen where a kid was lighting his ass up, but they don't show you that one.
That kid from Cambridge?
Yeah, he was lighting his ass up. He didn't have nothing for him.
At the very end, he was like, well, I still don't believe it.
Yeah, that's it. And it's not based in fact. This is a thing that I don't like as well.
Once the facts got presented, he had nothing to stand on.
Well, just in general. So people that watch Charlie Kirk are not intelligent and pay attention to exactly what he's talking about, aren't intelligent enough to dig and find this research on their own. They're just taking it because he is a good speaker. He speaks very well. So your research is just you listening to him give you stats that don't mean shit, that are made up stats, essentially.
I would like maybe push away from the intelligence piece and only say it's more so just levels of whiteness and indoctrination around whiteness.
I'm talking about some of the black people that have actually agreed with his stance.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Exactly. I'll say this much, man. Was Charlie Kirk a racist? Probably not.
You don't think so?
But the ideals and propaganda that he chose to push was definitely racist.
So that makes him racist.
See, I'm not gonna say that just because at the same time, shit, he was. You got to follow the money.
You ain't got to.
But at the same time, if you're following the money, you have a choice whether you have to follow the money or not. And if you decide to follow the money knowing that you're going to grift in that direction, then you're inherently choosing racism over not being racist.
Okay. I stand corrected.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I also look at this from two perspectives. It's like, I feel like he was really good at not saying the word out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Except when it came to Asian people.
Yeah. Like he wouldn't say the word out loud, and he wouldn't. Well, that actually was false as well.
That was? Okay.
Yeah. He was saying Jenk. He said Jenk.
though?
Jenk is Hassan Piker's uncle who runs the Young Turks. He probably, when he was like yelling off stage and he was saying Jenk, he was saying Jenk.
All right, then I stand. See, this is the thing about debates and being presented with new information.
Mm-hmm.
I stand corrected.
Yeah. So he was saying the wrong thing, but he was really good at following the guidelines that I feel like a lot of white people
Don't.
Well, they understand. All right. So I was
going to say, you and I can speak to this specifically. I already know where you're going.
It's like this certain level of indoctrination. I always explain it like this. My grandparents were a certain level of racist, whether they were evil or not, right? They just had that inherently baked into themselves. My parents' generation was a little less because they saw what they were doing and they're less like, don't want to do that. How do I not be like them? Well, I don't say the word. And I don't do this over here. And then they try to be better. But then it's like, forget it, right? It's almost like a lot of white people in general. And this is not white guilt for all you out there. I don't have any white guilt.
What? No,
it's whatever. But it's this interesting level of indoctrination, in my opinion, around not consciously, cognitively understanding that racism exists beyond saying words out loud and physical violence.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly believe that there are tons of bad actors that know better and are trolling online. But I also believe that there's another section of white people that legitimately, because they've had no diversity background, never been around anybody else, they legitimately do not they can't connect the dots in those ways. And so when they see Charlie Kirk not say the word and not say anything that's blatantly racist, so Jay made a point kind of in a similar type of manner, they legitimately can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have also no understanding of the differences between a structural racism or a systemic racism and a personal prejudice racism and those particular type things. So I think that's kind of what you're speaking on a little bit too, because you can perpetuate one and still know the right things to say over here, but it doesn't mean those things aren't running through your head.
Exactly.
But that's also, so there is a term that I learned during this whole process, and it's stochastic terrorism. Did you guys see that quote?
I saw that as well.
So did you okay, so this definition, which I'm going to paraphrase here, but basically what that means is that you use all of the language that is necessary to rile people up and to get people going in particular ways, to cater to certain arguments, all of the above. But there's a certain inherent level of plausible deniability, meaning that I get you going, you go, make the next move, hurt somebody, say something, foul, whatever.
I didn't tell him to do that.
I didn't tell him to do that. Mm-hmm. Trump does this constantly. Mm-hmm. Charlie Kirk was really, really good at this. And this is the same argument. I used to have these arguments with my dad all the time. It's like there is a lot of inherent racism, but because it isn't followed up with the hard R, I'm good. It's like, this is, I think it's really woven into the fabric of America. Obviously, I'm stating the obvious here, but,
no, you're not.
And that's the
thing. Yeah, I am actually, but
for sure.
It's not obvious to you if you have that blind spot, cultural blind spot.
Yeah, but it's just really frustrating. And the last thing I'm going to do is listen to Charlie Kirk's opinion about people of color or what they need to do or how they should feel in any capacity, because I actually know lots of people of color in my real life, and I know that their experiences and their feelings and their emotions.
And the stats are completely wrong.
Yeah,
he said 75% of blacks don't have a father in the home. And people believe that shit. Like, I don't know personally any black fathers, like, who I'm friends with that are bad fathers or who aren't in the home or
just
who
don't
raise their kids. You know what I'm saying? I don't know those people. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, it happens. And there are people out there like that, but like living off of fabricated stats and you believe in it just because he told you is crazy.
But that's the thing about the mouthpiece and these whole arguments that he would have. He would have these campaigns and these events, And there's no fact checkers.
No.
There's nobody. I mean, there's nobody to address these things. And again, these kids are 18, 19 years old, and they don't have well-oiled arguments. They don't, there's no statisticians back there.
Bullshit.
But at the end of the day, again, like tying this back to the Trump administration, because he obviously was a major supporter of Charlie and helped give Charlie the platform essentially to bring him up. Like, this is exactly what Trump's been doing. As much as MAGA doesn't like it and Trump supporters don't like it, I'm still astounded to this day that during his first term, he had more than 30,000 lies. More than 30,000 lies.
And nobody.
That the Washington Post tracked. There was a person in charge of tracking all of that. 30,000 mother lies. That is insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And none of his followers cared.
No, they don't.
So to this point, like, facts don't actually matter. I know he was famous for saying facts over feelings, or your feelings
that was
don't
Ben
care.
Shapiro, but it was similar.
But I've seen him. I've seen clips of Charlie
saying it too,
reiterating that and saying that. It's like, I don't know. This entire discussion is frustrating, and it's extra frustrating that people act like you have to pour your heart out or just be gutted by this situation. Like, he seemed like a pretty vile person to a lot of people, and I don't understand why that's being misconstrued. I don't understand why he's being celebrated as Christ-like.
I actually
figure.
saw someone say, "Wouldn't it be crazy if he came back on the third day?"
I saw that
What do you
too.
think the Democrats would do? I was like, now, if you don't believe this is a cult, there's your proof. And
That's wild.
I'll say is, because we could go on about this for the entire show. I would say to all of my, because you can't help it. You got friends and family who lean right. They may not go as far as being, Charlie Kirkish or whatever, but this is the thing that bothers me is like all this is coming out, and now you're like, well, we got to ramp down the rhetoric on the left, and all of a sudden, you're talking bad about black people, and black people feel threatened when this had nothing to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Kirk, I'll say it, and it didn't deserve to die, but he didn't deserve to be almost deified in the way that, like I said, he's being honored and on the weekend of 9/11. Didn't he
get flown in the
Air Force
2 or whatever?
And I would say to anybody who leans right now, if don't talk about political violence and what's happening in this country and not understand that the calls are coming from inside the house.
Oh,
January 6th, that wasn't, you can say, oh, well, that was Antifa. I kept hearing that, but I'm like, well, then why don't you want these people to be investigated?
Yeah, man.
Why are you lashing out when literally it's not anybody, the violence is not coming from some Muslim transgender, liberal college students. It's coming, the calls are coming from inside the house.
But this goes back to the narrative part. Like, they're unfortunately doing a very good job of controlling that narrative and shifting the way that people think about this. Yeah, they're shifting
It's
the blame.
part of the propaganda machine.
Yeah, very much the part of the
political
propaganda machine.
theater.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
also, it's like, whenever people who lean to that side, they always like to talk about, oh, we've got to have accountability. Where is the accountability?
Well, there is none.
So like, don't call for accountability for everybody else, but then you say all the people who participated in January 6th, you let them out of jail.
It's the can't even get it out. Hypocrisy. I'm pissed off. It's crazy because they literally lined up to have the dude that killed Trayvon Martin.
Have him say,
Zimmerman.
George
Zimmerman to sign Skittles, and that featured at like gun conventions and
Let's
shit
not
like
forget
that.
about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, him too.
Yeah.
They paraded them around like they were champions of the people, and now all of a sudden that we don't give a about Mr. Kirk. You know what I'm saying? Now it's a problem. Like,
where's all the empathy?
You were tap dancing on the deaths of young black men,
kids,
and we're supposed to give a fuck about Charlie Kirk.
And let's not even forget that there was a school shooting the same day
Same
Charlie
day.
Kirk died,
Same day.
and they're raising these flags at half mast, but aren't giving any dams at all about the fact that kids are dead.
That's the thing. Like, that lets you know where their priorities are, because here were children that were shot to death at school, and they don't know their names. You know, not to mention, you know, the political violence. Like Charlie Kirk thought it was funny when Nancy Pelosi's husband got attacked in his home.
Right.
Elderly man,
And
and the woman who was shot and killed. Was who
Minnesota.
they didn't. You know, when you bring her up, they don't even know her name and don't care.
No, it's like Nick said. It's like, yes, it's about the narrative. You know, like even Charlie Kirk's wife went on the air talking about how, and then, or maybe it was his wife. It was somebody went on the air and talked about how we have to stop sending our kids to college because they're indoctrinating our kids in college.
But this is the thing. This is why.
Then what would Charlie Kirk spoke?
But this is why this stuff is so fascinating to me to watch this happen, is because my dad used to say all this shit. I've been listening to this bullshit for 20 years. I've been arguing with this mother for a long ass time.
Yeah.
I know people don't talk about their parents like that. We were kind of like
understand,
that. But
some of us do.
All of this shit. He used to say all this stuff, and I'm like, you don't even know what the you're talking about, and B, at the end of your life, you're still living across from a trap house. Like, you had all the opportunity in the world, and you didn't even make it out. Like what are we doing here?
Yeah,
they took our jobs.
See, but
name the argument. I heard it. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's why Charlie Kirk was so effective, because like if it was somebody going saying they took your jobs and he looked like, you know, Larry the Cable Guy, that would have been effective. But you put a tailored Brooks Brothers suit on a guy, and
he had a mouthpiece.
And he could talk.
Yeah, he could talk
He had a
very
mouthpiece.
well.
You know, it didn't matter that the things he said were hurtful. It didn't matter that, you know, what's his organization? Talking Points?
Turning Point.
Turning Point. Talking Points is something else. Turning Point was targeting college professors, you know, who, you know, once again, didn't say that America was perfect from its inception. You know, that was enough for people to be harassed and threatened.
They're being harassed and threatened right now.
Yeah.
Like in the wake of this.
Put in this fake database of people that didn't agree with Charlie Kirk's teaching, which is crazy.
If you're on it, take a screenshot of it and sue him.
Straight up.
So, but
America.
It's just a wild time, man.
Yeah.
You know,
they took the episode of South Park off the air too.
That's a damn shame. If, you know, if South Park is folding, it's about to be real.
Yeah, so South Park did an episode probably about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. I actually was talking to them about it, where they pretty much spoofed Charlie Kirk and him. Cartman was going to like debate all of these kids and say, prove me wrong after everything. So after this happened, they removed that episode.
Which is also crazy because Charlie Kirk said that he thought the episode was funny.
Yeah.
But
now what you're seeing is censorship and people being hurt in his name.
Yeah.
You know, that this is where the problem is going to come into play, to where everyone is going to be able to have everything they do is going to be dismissed or justified. Justified is a better word. Be like, well, you know, we're doing this for Charlie Kirk. That's going to be their cause. The next time there's some guys with the tiki torches, they're all going to have Charlie Kirk's photo.
Yeah, you know, be merch. Like you go down south somewhere, you might see some Charlie Kirk.
You don't have to go down south.
No.
Yeah.
You could just
rural Indiana.
Yeah.
Rural Indiana?
South Indiana.
Yeah.
You know,
well, South Indianapolis.
Yeah.
You know, like true. You don't have to, like I said, we always put,
not just South either.
We like to put things on the South, you know, the whole Mississippi burning and all this. And trust me, you know, yes, the South has a very storied history of its racism. But remember, the hub of the Klan was right here in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like we give everybody, we say that the racism may have been different, but it was still racism.
Yeah, it's at least in your face in certain places. Like you go down like Virginia and shit like that. Even by Virginia Beach, there's like booths and shit that sells Confederate flags and Trump shit. And I'm sure Charlie Kirk's shirt will be added to that. It's like, it's just more so in your face.
I think they perfected systematic racism here in Indiana.
Absolutely.
It was just the way they implemented it rather, you know, down south with the whole Jim Crow thing. Yeah. So, yeah, man. It's about to be interesting, and I don't mean that in a good way.
Nah. Tears for Fears.
Rest in peace t-shirts. Thanks to our partners. Dr. Coleman of Coleman Dental is our go-to dentist. He's a longtime Indianapolis arts and music supporter located right in Broad Ripple. Our good friends at Indie CD and Vinyl operate one of the best record stores in North America. Shop new and used in their site or visit them in person. And the best way to support the New Old Heads is to visit our Patreon and become a member. All details on newoldheads.com. Dame Dash recently pointed out Cameron's transition from mocking the media to embracing it, in a sense, for his podcast So let's discuss whether this represents a strategic move, a genuine evolution, or something else entirely, because we've always seen Cam as a defiant figure of sorts. So this move is particularly intriguing, but haven't artists always sought ways to connect directly with their audience?
Mm-hmm.
And isn't this just an evolution of it? I don't know. We can talk about it.
For some reason, people justify like, oh, I'm a journalist now, so I can interview male strippers and I could, be in other people's business. We didn't respect journalists that did that. That's a choice to be a journalist, but you're not a civilian. Think about all the people that used to talk about us in journalism and do corny shit that we used to laugh at. No disrespect, but we never respected Elliot because he's not in music, because he was talking about people. Just because you're a journalist doesn't mean you have that you can do things that you might find corny or immoral, but these are funny things.
Let's focus on this particular point here. Is this shift by Cameron, into the media space, is it a betrayal of his earlier anti-establishment stance, which I don't really think that's what it was, or is this just a savvy adaptation of, in the changing media landscape that we're seeing?
I don't think it's the same, because when Cam was featured in that, I want to say he's talking about the MSNBC
him and Bill O'Reilly.
That was Fox News.
Fox, okay.
You mad?
Should have been, you mad. That was about Bill O'Reilly pretty much shitting on hip hop as a whole, and Cameron was poking the bear essentially. This is a podcast format where Cam show is mostly about sports essentially.
He pivoted outside of that too.
He does. He can though.
He got time with Flea.
Yeah,
where he does, because that's what he was mentioning, and was the dude that was the Diddy cohort, where he was asking him about Cassie. And how was the
he did do an interview with him. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's Cam. He would interview and asking dumb shit like that. I don't really see this as being the same type of media per se as the one he kind of stood against. So this is more a performative media, clicks and views and things of that
There's
nature.
a difference in journalism versus kind of like what we do.
Yeah. I wouldn't consider us like journalists.
No, for sure.
We can talk about whatever we want to talk about, and I don't see anybody being able to critique what we're talking about, because it all pretty much comes back to music at the end of the day anyway. Even if it doesn't, still, we're having a conversation. This isn't a nationally syndicated show that comes on every day and you're relying on us for actual facts. But they don't rely on the news for actual facts either, but I'm kind of going astray. Yeah. I just don't think it makes any difference where Cam had a stance against that particular type of media versus the media that he's doing right now. I just don't see it.
Well, the traditional, again, maybe I'm out of touch with some of the information related to Cam's history, but talking about Elliott Wilson, that's a far cry from being on, a Fox News program with one of the biggest primetime people in Bill O'Reilly. Like those are entirely different worlds. So I'm not, I guess I don't even understand Dame's critique.
Yeah.
Because those spaces are totally different.
He just mad at Dame, right? Mad at Cameron right now.
Sour grapes.
He's mad at a lot of people right now, apparently. Does anybody disagree with that?
Well, no, we framed it kind of as this just a pivot that makes sense for Cam. And it is, because it's, for regardless of, anybody who's listening or watching, how much of a Cameron fan you are, Cameron's time is over with.
He's not getting in Ohio as much anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That too. But it really is a situation to where, like, if you are a rapper from a certain era, unless you're going to go out and do the legacy tour thing, then you have to find some other way to earn money and remain relevant. And one of the ways people are doing that is they're creating their own platforms as far as interviews, as far as conversations are concerned. Cam and Mace is, mostly about sports, but of course they venture into pop culture and whatnot, because that is, how do you act like, if you're Cam and Mace and you're from Harlem, and how do you act like you don't see this whole thing going on with Mr. Sean Combs, a few months ago? So I think a lot of artists are going to have to do that, because there are still artists who are releasing music, but there are as many people who are creating these platforms. Like, there are people who haven't listened to Jadakiss or Fat Joe in years, but they're right there at the top of their algorithm as far as this show that they have, that is a debunking of Fat Joe's lies.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, these people are still noteworthy figures in pop culture and in music. Their names still carry some weight. Even if you say, Fat Joe or Jadakiss or, Cam or Mace, like everybody knows who they are. But at the same time, like, how old was Cam when he was making these records? 20, 22, 24? Like, he's not going to be the same person now. I think pivots are natural.
Pivots are necessary.
And necessary, natural and necessary. He just put on his little, his little nice suit and turns into a giggle monster on that show. But
He literally just kicked.
I saw that.
What's his name off the show?
Adrian Bronner.
For talking about his co-host. Kept cracking on her, and he's like, "I'm gonna have to respectfully ask you to leave."
He was drunk.
Yeah, I mean,
you could clearly tell AB was drunk.
He acts stupid regardless of where he be drunk or not.
Yeah, he made sure he got him out of there. Though.
Yeah.
He cashed him out.
Mm-hmm. It was respectful.
What do you think, Byron? Do you have anything to add to that?
I think ultimately, man, what this is, man, is just sour grapes, man. People really care about what Cam has to do. Cam kind of threw that shot about, buying Paid in Full, and not only doing that, but teaming up with 50 to do it. And now people are coming back to Dame with questions about that. He had the whole Breakfast Club interview today, which
we'll talk about later.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a few going between them two, because they've been talking back and forth for probably the last month or so about Cam not helping Dame get back on his feet, be in the position that he needs to be, or he should be, being that being that Dame, when he was on top, he put Cam on, or he put him in a better position. He got him out of his deal with Sony, I think.
Sony Epic.
Yeah, he got him out of his deal with that and brought him over to The Rock, and then helped catapult his career. It gave him a second resurgence. So now Dame, it feels some type of way because he's going through hell right now, probably financially. So he says he's not, but just the way it looks like, to the media. And he feels that Cam should be doing something to help him get on his level, to be put in a better position. And unfortunately, Cam don't feel the same. You know what I mean? He's like, man, you had your opportunity and you quit working. Those were Cam's words. You quit working, you got comfortable. And I don't think that's the case. It's just the product that Dame was putting out was crap.
Sure.
I've been around Dame in person at an unmentionable event here in Indy, and he was weird, man. His whole energy was weird. Personally, I was just observing him and his family and his wife and the way he was interacting. And I don't know. He just seems kind of miserable. To be honest, I wouldn't want to be around him, and I don't know. I feel like you've kind of alluded to this, but he just is at a point in his life where things haven't aligned. A lot of it is probably decisions he's made, and also we all know this to be true. But when you are a public figure on some level, there's a certain amount that the public knows, and there's a whole lot that the public doesn't know. And I'm sure Cam is hip to information that we probably don't have about Dame and whatever happens behind the scene, and just the way that people operate and interact. I don't know. I think that we're probably trying to read into this, but at the end of the day, I'm sure I would trust that Cam has a lot more info to make a sound response.
To pivot back kind of to the conversation about the media stuff, is what Cameron's doing now, is that does it differ him from like the traditional hip hop media that we've seen in the past, such as the Elliott Wilsons?
Definitely, because you're getting it straight from the horse's mouth now. You know what I mean? You're getting straight from, they don't have to go through a search channel. It's the same thing that happened with sports.
But at the same time, like, Cameron doesn't know everything. He's not the monolith of hip hop news, right?
He's not, but at the same time, like, they have real stories and experiences that people want to hear about. You know what I mean? So that's why people are going directly, like, journalism hip hop journalism for real is a niche market now. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to hear an editorial or something like that, then you can go holler at Rob Markman or Elliot. You know,
Justin Hunt,
B. Dot. Yeah, you know what I mean? You can go to those. You can go to those spaces and get that. But if you want to hear it directly from the artist who's doing the work now, and it's not as colorful and pretty as, or as educated as you could get from those people that were just previously mentioned, you can go straight to the horse's mouth and get the stories directly from them.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Locks doing their thing. I mean, there's a lot of people that, and there's entertainment value as well within these spheres that makes it I don't know, I guess just entertaining.
I think that's just the argument that's going on in media, period. You know what I mean? Because the athletes are doing it with sports media now, and you're getting the same thing in music.
So is that turning into the new traditional? Then I don't know if new traditional even makes sense as a phrase, but is that kind of what this is? Is that where we're heading in general?
Like, I think it's just more entertaining at the end of the day. I mean, it's entertainment, and it's more entertaining to hear it from an entertainer speaking from their point of view. So, I mean, I don't know. I think there's still room in the organization for people that aren't them and haven't necessarily been an entertainer. But again, it just adds to kind of the allure of it a little bit.
Well, I think it's also tied to the fact that now with all of the technology makes the access and the ability to produce things like this show, the cost is lower, and now you have a new career opportunity that literally didn't exist. Like if Larry Bird and I don't know, Isaiah Thomas wanted to get on TV and start talking shit about all of their stuff in 1997, I'm sure people would have tuned in, but it wasn't really. Unless they were joining Ahmad Rashad, that wasn't going to happen. You know what I mean? So I just think that a lot of people are just pivoting because you're not going to be able to sell records forever, and the people in the music industry, the records aren't really selling. So
streaming money is better.
Yeah, I mean, and I think realistically, I mean, we know this. Like I've mentioned to you guys many times, and in our meetings and stuff about how like we're not in the same bracket as like a Joe and Jada or a Joe Budden or all these other people, because these are celebrities within this particular thing that are talking about something from a certain perspective angle. Sure, we've been a part of this for a very long time, but we're not celebrities. And we have a different, the viewership looks at us differently than they're going to look at a Joe Budden or a Jada Kiss or a Cameron or anybody that they can recognize from nostalgia's point of view. They're just going to look at it. And there is an entertainment piece with that. And I think in general, the stuff that we kind of come from, the angle we come from is not necessarily a journalistic approach, but it is more of a narrative related conversation piece as opposed to that. So I feel like we're in this very interesting space within this media sphere, if you will, where like we still have some traditional journalists, but then we have some people like us, and then we have another group of people, and then we have just the famous people, and then everything in between. So
I think it is journalism, though. It's not traditional journalism, but it is journalish.
It's journalish, but as somebody who was in media for a very long time, this is not journalism. Like, I mean, I don't know. I never consider myself a journalist. I mean, Nick wrote for a long time back in, post college days and stuff like this. I don't think we hold ourselves to high enough standards with everything that we do to like legitimately call ourselves journalists.
I mean, I always felt weird about, I would use the term hip hop journalist to describe the work that we did, but we deliberately spent hours every day tracking down leads, calling people, being on the phone, writing stuff up. I mean, one story I wrote, it was about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and this thing he did in LA surrounded by jazz. And then the New York Times quoted it and mentioned Sound Slam. Yeah. And then Stephen Colbert Report cited New York Times and said Sound Slam. And now it's on Comedy Central, literally just from some press thing that I got. So, I mean, and again, I say that not to give myself praise here, but to say that like we were doing this work, but we still weren't real journalists.
Yeah, that's
what I'm saying. Like,
what I'm saying.
There's people like really grinding it out every day. Yeah. And we were just kind of like doing the best that we could.
Sure.
So there's levels to, I think
I think one of the things that when we're talking about a shifting media landscape, we're seeing things that are going to be perhaps viewed as traditional journalism, in the next 20 to 25 years.
I can see that.
You know, because when I get a chance, my algorithm will pop up Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes on All the Smoke. And they'll talk to some player and they'll get some information and insight when they're talking to Kevin Garnett or Vernon Maxwell that I would have never gotten if somebody was on ESPN, because you got to worry about censorship.
Sure.
But then you also have to worry about, okay, what the A block is only 8 minutes, so we got to do this and this, that, and the third. I'm getting, the straight dope from these guys that I
no pun intended.
Yeah, that I would not be able to get. And it's the same thing with when you have these platforms that speak about music. I don't know what his issue specifically with Elliott is. I don't know what he might have wrote about him, because Dame, when Dame says somebody's name, a lot of times it comes from a personal place, and it's so that is what it is. I don't really care to do too much research on that, but because I'm not a journalist. But right now, if Ralph Wiley were still alive right now, it's a famous sports writer. And he saw that part of the ESPN platform is World Wrestling Entertainment. He'd be like, what happened here? But so that's the adjustment that ESPN has had to make, because there's so much other content that honestly is done outside of their reach that is more engaging and honestly more interesting, as opposed to just reporting the scores every 15 minutes on SportsCenter, or having the talking heads come on, like Steven, like the adjustment that you see is a reaction to what is happening on the internet on ESPN. I know a lot of people hate it, but that's why Pat McAfee is where he is.
Exactly.
The crazy thing is, like, you got to understand, Pat McAfee's, a lot of times he's got a 2-hour show on ESPN, but when they turn the cameras off and shift it on to something else, like a lot of times that show goes on for another hour, 25 minutes, maybe another hour and a half.
I legitimately think that journalism as we know it right now is going to go away, and it's going to be replaced by AI probably in the next 5 to 6 years, in the sense of just like reporting factual things.
The scores, the transactions, all that stuff. And then because we're seeing it in all these places that used to be historical, like journalism, it's like, it's shifting, and we don't really need a whole bunch of people to talk. And
that's scary.
Is it from one perspective, maybe, but from another perspective, it's also kind of like, well, maybe we don't have to worry about like considering Fox News a news source anymore.
Well, the thing,
but then again, they'll have their own thing.
Yeah, you do though, because
but then there might be trusted sources. Like it depends on how that works, right?
But it's just like I'm just trying to imagine. Like I said, this media landscape has changed so much from the people I watched growing up on ESPN. I just couldn't imagine, Dick Schaap having a conversation with Triple H.
Say that again.
Dick Schaap.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be mature.
Okay. Pause. Man, since Dame Dash is on the screen.
No, I think I say that's scary just because you're going to, like, you're getting programmed information, and which you are now anyway, but like there's no real emotion. You won't have real emotion behind it from a pundit or something.
I'm not saying that like the regular stuff that's happening right now, like these type of conversations won't exist. I'm just saying like I feel like there's going to be, we're already really seeing it, to be honest. We're already seeing fake AI people do stuff like this, but I feel like that's somewhat of the future, probably, potentially, or it's going to be even more niche than it is right now, probably.
Yeah, it's not far-fetched.
No, it's not.
It's not far off.
We just talked about Dame Dash, but Dame Dash was, again, he appeared on the Breakfast Club and talked to Charlemagne the God and Envy. I didn't watch the whole thing, but
Charlemagne.
But let's analyze this explosive exchange, examining the underlining tensions, if you will, of the validity of Dame's arguments. So this interview raises some serious questions, I guess, about the public discourse around personal attacks. However, could Dame's provocative stances actually be a catalyst for necessary dialogue? So let's talk about specifically what he's talking about here and then go a little bit deeper.
The way you keep interrupting me, the way you keep saying things that aren't true but don't know.
Like what? What did I say that's not true?
Let me say what I'm saying. I was still talking. Okay. So, because when y'all do that, I forget what I'm gonna say because I be like that.
You're not saying shit.
No, you don't think. Of course, you don't think that. I think you're gay.
That's fine.
I'm not gonna lie. After the Puff stuff, cause let me say this. This is my assessment. I've never heard you say one thing bad about Jay-Z. Not one.
He's not in the room. You shouldn't talk about it.
Don't tell me what to do.
You said you shouldn't talk about it.
Now you're interrupting me.
Now you're doing the girl stuff.
I know him. I'm giving you an example. Right?
You used to know him.
Can I talk? You're upset. Can I talk? Can I talk?
He was
Because you
definitely
talk
trolling
bad
him.
about a lot of people, but you never said one time. And you walk around with his face on your chest. Is that a airplane shirt right now?
Paper planes, yeah. I wore CEO stuff.
Can I finish? No, I never seen that. Let me finish.
What you mean?
Let me see that.
You gave us.
So I'm thinking to myself, either you got a crush on this man or he's paying you. One or the other. Did you buy that shirt?
Yes.
You went and bought that? They didn't give it to you as much as you say nice
You're not
things?
supposed to support black business?
I doubt you bought that shirt.
What you mean?
Anyway,
and I buy CEO
so I
shirt
think you're gay. I'm sorry.
And I think you're broke.
Okay. And no disrespect to gay, I just think
you're broke.
Like I saw,
and that bothers you so much to get called broke by people.
I got you.
I do have a question.
I'm sure it does.
So,
That's what the segment is about.
let's pose a question.
Don't interrupt him now.
Is Dame Dash's assessment of Charlemagne rooted in genuine concern for the culture representation that he said, or is it simply a personal attack?
All right. So to add context to this,
Do we need more context?
Yeah, you actually did.
yeah, because there was a deeper part in the conversation where he was talking about how he thought that Charlemagne was bad for the youth.
Okay.
Because he offers a feminine perspective. You know what I mean? Being on there, gossiping about other people and men and their money, et cetera, et cetera. And he said that, you know, America needs a real man's perspective on things going on in the world today.
He said Wendy Williams was his OG.
Yeah. Which
that was funny.
She kind of was.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the hell.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was a lot to unpack.
Okay, but even with that being said, is Dame Dash's assessment of Charlemagne rooted in genuine concern for cultural representation, or is it simply just a personal attack?
Nah, that's just Dame talking shit, man. Like, if you watch the interview, like, Dame has certain things and criteria that they're supposed to meet to even talk to him right now. So he comes to the interview, he's like, and don't cut me off, and this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. So, but Dame is not applying those same talking techniques whenever they're talking to him. So anytime somebody says anything, oh, don't cut me off, you're making me lose my point.
I mean, literally, Charlemagne called him on like 3 things just in that small clip.
That small clip, but that was going on the whole interview.
Yeah.
This was just, there's some built up animosity. Again, we're using Dame Dash as the common denominator because he has a problem with everybody that doesn't agree with him. He's picking at him because he has on a Paper Planes Jay-Z shirt, and he's like, you never say nothing bad about Jay-Z. Okay. What's that have to do with the conversation that we're having right now?
We talking about you, brother.
And he's telling him he's using his own words and statements against him. We're not supposed to talk about another man who's not in the room.
Yeah.
This is coming from you.
Yeah.
But we're talking about another man who's not in the room.
We've talked about this earlier tonight. He's just quoting him.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, that's what he says. Yeah. But yeah, this is just Dame Dash being Dame Dash at the end of the day.
Is he a narcissist?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We've had this entire discussion about him being a narcissist. Actually, that was the question posed.
I already had that feeling, but I was just posing that because I think that answers the question.
Sure.
Like immediately.
Yeah.
There's no, well, I forget how you phrased it, but
is it
authentic.
Does he actually care about this,
No,
like
he does
the
not
representation,
care.
or is it just personal?
He could. He
think?
could actually care, you know.
If you're a narcissist, aren't you just going to center yourself? So
exactly.
He's only concerned with things that have direct impact on him.
Well, he never said I need to be the one to talk to the people, though. You know what I mean? He just said, look, there needs to be a different voice.
Well, so he was trying to leverage his guy to be that voice.
He said what he did. He told him that he needs to be up there at least twice a week. Yeah.
So he came into this interview.
So Dame's saying he wants himself to be.
He brought his OG or somebody that he kind of from the same neighborhood as some.
Do they know this guy?
No,
they
did
don't.
not
I don't
know
think they
him.
know.
Nobody knew him.
So
to
he's
this
just
point.
trying to slide dude in twice a week.
Pretty much, man. Dame tried to control the interview, and
So he's a controlling narcissist.
yes, that's exactly what happened in this whole thing. Like, I actually ended up listening to the whole hour and a half interview.
God bless you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be at work. I have to ride around and listen to shit anyway. So a lot of times I listen to podcasts and things of that nature. But I listen to it for entertainment purposes because it was very entertaining to me.
It was.
You know? This Dame is, no matter if you like him or dislike him, whenever somebody talks to this dude, it's going to be funny. It's going to make you be like, man, what the is this dude talking about? It's just entertaining at the end of the day. But yeah, I listened to it, and a lot of the stuff that he was mad at them about, he was doing the exact same thing. And it was just very interesting.
Well, see, this is where I try to shoot Dame Little Bail, even though he is just ridiculous at this point.
Let's see this.
Is he kept? This is where I had to get off of the train. Is when in this clip that we play, where all of a sudden it just comes into childhood insults. I think you're gay. Like, that's when you just know you've lost, and like you're not even interested in a real conversation. But I wanted to hear him talk about the differences between taking a loan and lines of credit, about having certain things in your name and certain things that they can't come after you for if you file for bankruptcy. Bankruptcy protection. I think those are the kind of conversations that we could have had here, but it just devolved into schoolyard insults. And then that's like right around the time. This was when I wasn't riding around. So I turned it off. I was like, this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, they tried to ask him those questions, and he kind of alluded to it in a certain way, stating that the internet shows that I'm broke, and it's because nothing's in my name. He's saying he pretty much everything is in his family's name.
Mm-hmm.
So when they go after him, it shows him having nothing where the money is actually somewhere else. But he didn't tell you, he didn't school you or give you no game on how that works. He actually brought up Donald Trump as a positive example of a businessman that just does bankruptcies and he's successful, because they told him that he wasn't successful. So he brought up Donald Trump talking about, well, you can't say that he's not successful. He's the president of the United States. You know what I'm saying? But there was no real game given on this. It was more so leading toward,
I disagree.
I have a kind of, but it was more so leading toward, I am now in a position to where if you really want the game, you have to come over here and watch it on Revolt. That's exactly what it was to me.
But I think him just saying that is giving the game. You know what I mean?
Which
like
part?
Him saying, him telling probably the average person that does not know what he's saying, him just putting that out there. It's up to you to do the research.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I gave you the game. I told you what was going on. It's up to you to investigate further. And yes, if the game is to be sold, not to be told. So if you want to hear it, come over to Revolt and listen to me tell you how I actually did it to this point. But I got to leverage myself and this venture that I'm trying to do at the same time. So come over here to hear it. I ain't going to give it to you for free here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's selling snake oil, man.
He tried to sell motor oil at one point, but that didn't work.
He did. And cookies.
I mean, what kind of
that was his son that was selling.
You're right.
My son's got cookies. He's got equity.
what kind of game does Dame have left to give us? You know, like,
look, if he can be once again, I want to hear more about the difference between lines of credit and being and then taking out a loan, and because I'm hearing all things that you have to pay back first of all. So if there's a difference between, I want to hear that conversation, but at the same time,
I don't want to hear from Dame.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I was going to say. I mean, there's much more credible people to get that information from.
You know, and I don't know. I just look at him as like, maybe it's because like I do still believe Dame Dash is important to the culture, but at the same time, right now, he just talks in circles, and I believe once it gets personal, then he loses whatever useful things he could tell people into just insults and foolishness. The same foolishness that he says that, you know, makes Charlemagne not useful to the culture.
How much does trauma inform one's perception and expression of masculinity? Because that's essentially what Dame was saying here as well. And how does that play out in hip hop culture specifically?
Well, I think we've always used gay as an insult, and that's how Dame used it here. Let's not make any. Let's not say any, because he said, "Oh, respectfully, no problem." But like when you call Charlemagne gay, you're using gay as an insult in a way.
You can't respectfully that up.
Yeah, as a way for you to attack his manhood because he's not doing things exactly how you would do them or how they did them in Harlem. And so
it was actually part of the punchline. So once they start having that conversation, he goes, "I don't have any problems with gay people. I have problems with people that are gay and don't say that they're gay, like you."
Yeah.
So it was. I think that was more so part of. But I mean, you have a point. But it was. He knew what he was doing. He knew he was coming on this show to poke at them. The problem is Charlemagne is going to do the exact same thing back. Charlemagne ain't even going to say that I'm not gay. I mean, he did, but he was laughing at it.
He said, "Good for you."
Yeah. He was like, "So what? A black man can't be gay?" He was like, "No, I'm not saying black men can't be gay. I'm saying that people should say that they're gay.
Put
and
them
you're
in a
gay."
box.
Yeah. But at the same time, he was trying that. He used saying that he was gay as a way to negate, like once he got into a corner, his way to box out of the corner was to say, "Well, you're gay," and you won't say that you're gay.
You could hear, even in the clip, you could hear he was going to respond with say, "Yeah, but you're," and then he was like, "I think that you're gay." He even stopped himself from saying it. Like, if it wasn't the punchline, then you would say something else.
It doesn't work on that show though, because they play around with each other and call each other that all the time.
Yeah, and also you got
Well, then that goes to my question.
Yeah.
Masculinity and how does this play out in the culture?
But there's always been this, is masculinity, wearing your, Timberlands and oversized jeans is masculinity. There are people who clown Russell Wilson for being a good husband and father. Like we have these messed up conversations about what masculinity is, specifically in the black community, in more of on a macro level in hip hop. Might be micro, macro. I mess that up a lot, but
macro big, micro small.
Okay, so I'm just like, why are we? Like I said, it always comes down to you are not the man I am because you don't do this, and this, and it is not a productive conversation. It never is, and a lot of times, like the people who depend on you the most to be the man, if you will, and that depends really on who you're talking to and when you're talking to them, they make that determination. You could say, I'm not masculine, but what do my wife and what do my children think? What do the people who depend on me in the community think? What do my business partners think? You coming up here, with your new teeth and your new ventures, you saying because I've said these things about you and it's clearly personal. You saying that I'm gay or I'm not a man or what I'm doing is not masculine, that's not a determination to be made by you in the first place.
Yeah. It's not how many trees can I chop down with my bare arms?
Yeah, he used that moment of the "can I get a drop" moment, Charlemagne, to challenge his manhood. He said, because you ran when you were
about to be jumped by 4 people.
Yeah. And he said he would have. Oh, yeah. He said that I would have been a man and I would have stood there and went down fight. I would have fought to the death.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, good. And then you aren't here for your children because you're so manly that you got your ass whooped and killed in the street. When 4 people run up on you, unless you have a gun, you're supposed to run.
I'm out.
Yeah, if masculinity is like showing up and doing the things you're supposed to be doing, and to define how you want, but part of it's showing up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
you ain't showing up
yeah.
if you get your ass kicked, then you die. So I'm just saying, I don't know.
My uncle told me a long time ago, better to say "there he goes" than "there he lays."
Oof. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah. So like I said, I think these. I don't know, man. Like, I just hate these conversations. A lot of times when you try to boil down masculinity to whether or not, I can change a carburetor out with my bare hands and, and whether or not I can take an ass whooping in the middle of the street.
I don't know, man. Nick's got Beethoven or Prince on his shirt. And when you think about masculinity, you wouldn't necessarily define Prince as that, but he was the man. Like, you couldn't tell Prince or challenge Prince on shit.
Prince had them hoes.
But like, if You know what I'm saying? On the outside looking in.
And he beat you in basketball.
Beat you in basketball. I'm making some pancakes. You can't dishonor him based on his
him
image,
wearing
so
the
to
heels and
yeah. I mean, he was the man.
Yeah.
That was the thing at the time, to be androgynous. Some of the people that
depending on who you talk to, there's some people that looked at Prince were like, "Come on, doggy."
Shit,
like,
Melly Mel and them were.
Yeah, they were.
Well, no, yeah, they was
African Bambaataa. Them some of them.
No, they was dressed up like the Hebrew Israelites. That was different. Now, yeah.
Prince had some mannerisms, but that were a little different than them. They dressed.
I'm saying, African Bambaataa was a man, and you know the allegations against him.
He ain't shit.
Yeah, hey, Planet Rock.
Hey, man. Yep.
Yeah, it's a very long. It's a. I guess we can wrap it up, but I'll say there's a very long history of I don't know, patriarchy, if you will.
What does a man look like?
Exactly. It's like it's like the Fight Club thing too. He's like, is this a man?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a man? Is this what a man looks like? And it's like Bob.
Yeah,
it's just It's Bob had bitch tits, Terry. But it is rooted in patriarchy all the way back to like a man does this for his family, and the woman's place is here, and all of this stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'll leave it at Bob has bitch tits, but
it took me forever to realize that was Meatloaf.
Yeah.
I did not know that was Meatloaf.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie.
You let the right person tell you, like showing any type of emotion is not a good thing.
I'll do anything for love,
but I won't do that.
But I won't do that.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 453 of the New Old Heads podcast with guests Brotha2daknight and DJ MetroGnome. They will be back again in the future, so make sure you tap in. Become a member of Patreon, patreon.com/newoldheads. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, do all those things, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Where you get all the education that you need.
Mm-hmm.